It's Monday, December 1st, 2025. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. Right now, we've been watching some pockets of rain around, but what I'm watching is really out in the Atlantic with moisture building. Now, with that said, I'm not seeing anything tropical developing out of that. I always want to keep things in perspective, right? I'm not seeing a rare December system forming, but look at all this moisture. Here we are, and some of this is going to be marching our way. The flood threat is about to get higher, especially across the southeastern Caribbean, anywhere from St. Lucia, Barbados, south through St. Vincent and The Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, northeastern Venezuela and Guyana. That rain chance and flood threat is going to get higher. I want to cover that. So watching this area out here, what's going on is all these fronts to the north are going to help kind of pull some of this moisture our way, right? And that's why we're going to be seeing that rain chance increasing, especially as we get into late tomorrow and in particular right into the middle of the week. Now, water temperatures this time of year have cooled, no doubt, especially across the Atlantic back through the Gulf, and we've had that cooling back through the Caribbean. They are still conducive for tropical development. They're still warm enough for a tropical system to form, but there's so many other ingredients in above our heads. It is so hostile this time of year. That's why it is no longer the hurricane season. Now, with that said, there have been 28 named storms in the month of December. A few of those formed in November and kind of carried over into December. So occasionally there's something out there in the month of December. Again, we're just coming off the hurricane season. Usually it's a spin way out there in the Atlantic, even the central Atlantic, and it's not a bother. Occasionally there's something out there to track. As of now, just watching areas of moisture. Now, hurricane season officially over. With that, the last name on the list was Melissa. Nestor is the next name on the list. Now, the hurricane season is over, but the list itself holds right through the end of the year. The new list for next season kicks in January 1st. So if there's a kind of a crazy system out there in the month of December, the next name on the list would be Nestor. But again, that is very rare. Now, back to what we're watching though in the Atlantic. I mentioned that rain moving in, and this just gives us a feel. I'll zoom around in just a second. I want to widen out and show you the entire Atlantic in just a second. What's going on here though, as we work our way tomorrow into Wednesday, we're going to see some spots of 100 millimeters of rain. That'll be a possibility. Trinidad and Tobago, that's where we're going to see the flood threat. That'll build back toward Grenada and St. Vincent and The Grenadines. Even Barbados and St. Lucia will have some spots 50 to 75 millimeters of rain. So just giving you that heads up off the bat that we are going to see that increased chance of rain. Now let me start across the Caribbean, then widen out for us. Here's what's going on. There's the moisture, and I'll show you that how it's tied together in just a second. This is later today. Pockets of rain. We've had some of the flooding parts of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, some scattered rain in Nicaragua, spotty Cayman Islands, Jamaica, back through Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos, Cuba. A front will be moving by to the north. I'll show you that in a moment. But going out in time here, this is our Tuesday afternoon, and you see right here that Atlantic moisture starts to move in. So we'll start to get some of that rain building for some of us, especially across the southeastern Caribbean on our Tuesday. Still hanging on to some rain and isolated areas of flooding right in the sector. So as we go forward into the middle of the week, and you see right there, this is what's going to happen. That rain chance increasing. Even near Dominica and Martinique, we'll see a little bump up in that rain chance as we hit Wednesday. But there's that surge of moisture that will be coming in, and we'll monitor that flood threat throughout the week. So a busy pattern ahead as we watch that moisture. And then as we work our way into Thursday, look how it kind of sticks around. It's going to be broken. So one island, maybe a few scattered showers, while another island may be getting some of the flooding. But watching this moisture, spotty northern and northeastern Caribbean, more so southeastern Caribbean, and then kind of hit or miss showers elsewhere as we work our way into Thursday. But that Atlantic moisture is going to give us a busy week. Now, here we are in the Caribbean, and you see how it's tied together. It's all this moisture here. Again, not seeing this developing into a tropical system, but with these fronts sitting up to the north, right? It kind of helps grab this moisture and bring it in. I always mention how the weather's tied together on such a large scale. These fronts up here are going to help kind of just draw this moisture in, and you see by the middle of the week, we get that moisture surge starting to work in. That could last a couple days, and that's why I mentioned we really need to watch out for that flood threat. I mentioned, I think a couple weeks ago with the December outlook, that it would get more active with that possibility of flooding in December. And here we are. It looks like that's coming true as far as seeing that additional rain and watching that flood threat. Now, these are those fronts up to the north that's helping draw in some of the moisture. I'll take you around with the rain totals in just a second. One bigger system moving by parts of the east coast of the United States up toward the Atlantic region of Canada. Significant snow on the back side of it. These are the fronts we'll be watching as well for us in the Caribbean to see how far south they get, to see if that Christmas breeze eventually works in. This one's really going to pivot its way back toward the Atlantic region of Canada and not dip very far down toward the south. Now the seas with that front up there are going to build, and with that moisture in the Atlantic, those Atlantic passageways are also going to build. So this here is our Tuesday, working our way into Wednesday. You see the higher seas coming off the Atlantic with that system that I just showed you. But look at the Atlantic passageways as we work our way Wednesday into Thursday. They are going to be on the high side, even just simply the Eastern Caribbean. It's going to be rougher to choppier. We'll be watching that with that rain that will be sliding our way. So watching this rain up here, I'll zoom out in just a second. Spotty Florida, back through Cuba into the Bahamas. Not a whole lot for the most part. Just kind of the tail end of a front. Same thing as we work our way back through here. Now, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, Cuba, Haiti, the DR, back through the Turks and Caicos and Puerto Rico. A couple spotty showers will be possible. Some of us simply stay dry, while others get some hit or miss showers. Some spotty showers as well. Anguilla, back through the Virgin Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis. But Dominica South, that's where we start to get the better chance of rain, especially as we work our way into Wednesday. This is the sector I just zoomed down to where we'll have some totals of 100 millimeters of rain, maybe more in some spots. We're really going to watch this area as we work our way through the middle and end of the week, and that'll clip by northeastern Venezuela, northern Guyana, not quite as much as we get into Suriname, northern sections. And again, this pocket in here, not all of us seeing the rain, but especially Colombia and Panama. We've had some of the flooding and watching out for some isolated areas closer to the water in Nicaragua, Costa Rica, some scattered showers, and then kind of hit or miss elsewhere, Honduras, Belize, back toward Mexico City, and this up through here again, that system that will be sweeping by. Bigger picture, of course, some of this, these are rain totals, precipitation totals on the back side of it, though. Some of these totals actually are going to be the frozen variety with some of that snow on the back side of that system. So Jamaica, we're looking at a 30 to 40% chance of a passing shower, but we could get a downpour or two. If you happen to get one, a couple downpours possible. Cayman Islands, a rain chance running at about 20% over the next 2 days. But here's where it builds. Trinidad and Tobago, a 50% chance tomorrow, and we will be up to a 70% chance by the time we get into Wednesday. Barbados, you see how we go from 30% today, but by Wednesday, we're up to about a 60% chance, and you see it building as well. 40% chance tomorrow in St. Lucia, up to a 50% chance through the middle of the week. Grenada, by the time we get into tomorrow night and Wednesday, the rain chance as high as 60%, could be a little bit higher. Same thing for the most part, St. Vincent and The Grenadines, especially southern islands, where that rain chance will be building, especially late tomorrow into Wednesday and Thursday. Martinique, we'll see a little bump up in that rain chance. May even be a little higher, Martinique and Dominique. I'll keep an eye on that for Wednesday, 40, but maybe as high as 50, if not 60%. We'll be watching that. You see how it gets a little higher as well over the next 3 days as we work our way back toward Guadeloupe. Antigua, Barbuda, rain chance holding at about 20 to 30%. Does get a little bit higher on Wednesday. St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat could get higher by the time we get into Thursday. Anguilla and St. Bart's, 20 to 30% chance. And running at that 20 to 30% chance. St. Martin, Saba, and Stasia. Rain chance about 30% today in Puerto Rico, 40% chance for tomorrow, and a 20 to 30% chance back through the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Rain chance stays on the minimal side, just some fronts to the north kind of clipping by. The Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, 30% chance of a very passing shower as we go throughout the day. 50% chance today, though, in the Dominican Republic. Does go down a little bit for tomorrow, and we're looking at a 30% chance for today in Haiti and a 20% chance for tomorrow. Rain chance the next couple of days in Belize, isolated, a 30% chance of that passing shower. Back through Aruba, Curacao, and Bonaire, a little bit higher as we go through the day today. And then we'll watch late in the week and even by the weekend that Atlantic moisture to see how much of that feeds across to the ABC Islands. Guyana, rain chance on the higher side. Watching that Atlantic moisture. And again, Suriname, it's going to be extreme northern sections where we have a better chance of some of the rain. 30 to 40% chance over the next few days back through Cuba. 60 to 70% chance Costa Rica and Panama, especially Panama where it's a little bit higher. I mentioned that with that flooding possible. Nicaragua, mainly eastern sections, seeing that chance of rain. Honduras, rain chance running at about 30% and just a 20% chance. That's it. Guatemala and El Salvador, 20 to 30% chance. Mexico City, 20 to 30% chance. Merida, Campeche, Cancun, and Cozumel, rain chance not too high, but watching for some areas of flooding again. Colombia, especially closer to Panama, where we'll continue to watch out for that flood threat. And then watching northern Venezuela, 60 to 70% chance. And then Bermuda, just at times, again, these fronts pressing by. One day we could see some showers for a couple hours. The next day could be on the dry side. So the rain building in the Atlantic, no tropical development, but that rain will be increasing soon. So we're going to monitor those areas of flooding with that busy week ahead. And we'll watch how much of that moisture pulls through and into the Caribbean. Got you covered right here. Thank you for taking the time to subscribe and have a good start to the week.